Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we're going to go over the Quran, choosing a Quran and trying to memorize it during the month of Ramadan. The first one I'm going to go over is Surah Al-Burooj. The goal is to recite it as many times you need to memorize it. If you have a tajweed book in the Quran, please grab one, because in this way you can look over some of the syllables. You know, there's different color-coded colors emphasizing on where the letters should be stretched and so forth. I think we're going to go starting by first of all the meaning, by the sky, Surah Al-Burooj, by the skies containing the great stars, and by the day, and by the witnesses, and what is witnessed. Cursed were the companions of the trench, continuing the fire of fuel, when they were sitting near it, and they to what they were doing against the believers were witnessing, and they resented them not, except because they believed in Allah, the exalted in might, the praiseworthy, to whom belongs the dominion of the heavens and earth, and Allah over all things is a witness. Indeed, those who have tortured the believing man and believing woman, and they have not repented, will have the punishment of hell, and they will have the punishment of the burning fire. Indeed, those who have believed and done righteous deeds will have gardens beneath which rivers flow. That is a great attainment. Indeed, the vengeance of the Lord is severe. Indeed, it is He who originated creation and repeats, and He is the forgiving, the affectionate, honorable owner of the throne, effector of what He intends. He has there reached through the story of the soldiers, those of Pharaoh and Thamud, but they who disbelieved are in persistent denial, while Allah encompasses them from behind. But this is an honored Quran, inscribed in preserved state. The translations that we use also is from the Clear Quran, copy of a thematic English translation of the message of the final revelation. This copy here is black and gold. The Clear Quran, Al-Furqan Foundation, in service of the Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والسماء ذات البروج واليوم الموعود وشاهد ومشهود قتل أصحاب الأخدود النار ذات الوقود إذ هم عليها قعود وهم على ما يفعلون بالمؤمنين شهود وما نقموا منهم إلا أن يؤمنوا بالله العزيز الحميد الذي له ملك السماوات والأرض والله على كل شيء شهيد. إن الذين فتنوا المؤمنين والمؤمنات ثم لم يتوبوا فلهم عذاب جهنم ولهم عذاب الحريق. إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ذلك الفوز الكبير. إن بطش ربك لشديد إنه هو يبدئ ويعيد وهو الغفور الودود ذو العرش المجيد فعال لما يريد. هل أتاك حديث الجنود فرعون وثمود بل الذين كفروا في تكذيب والله من ورائهم محيط. بل هو قرآن مجيد في لوح محفوظ. Again, simple. Memorize it again and again. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والسماء ذات البروج واليوم الموعود وشاهد ومشهود قتل أصحاب الأخدود النار ذات الوقود إذ هم عليها قعود وهم على ما يفعلون بالمؤمنين شهود وما نقموا منهم إلا أن يؤمنوا بالله العزيز الحميد الذي له ملك السماوات والأرض والله على كل شيء شهيد إن الذين فتنوا المؤمنين والمؤمنات ثم لم يتوبوا فلهم عذاب جهنم ولهم عذاب الحريق إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ذلك الفوز الكبير إن وعد ربك لشديد إنه هو يبدئ ويعيد وهو الغفور الودود ذو العرش المجيد فعال لما يريد هل أتاك حديث الجنود فرعون وثمود بل الذين كفروا في تكذيب والله من ورائهم محيط بل هو قرآن مجيد في لوح محفوظ قرآن مجيد. And by the skies containing great stars. As we know that the stars itself, the skies itself contains great stars. The Burooj, the soldiers of the angels of the heavens, the skies, witnesses after witnesses. We have the witness of time. We have the witness of the angels. We have the witness of Allah, who is a sufficient witness. And all these entities, the two angels that are sitting on the shoulders, these are also witnesses. And the Quran itself is a witness. We read it and recite it, and we see what's going on and what happened to the people of the ditch. And on the Day of Judgment, we know we will be testifying against other nations and so forth. And Allah Azza wa Jal is a sufficient witness. And then who is being witnessed? The witnesses are, of course, the people of the ditch, the disbelievers and the believers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says by this, He uses a great oath. And you know, when Allah says an oath, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's oath is very mighty, by the skies, and then by the promised day, the Day of Judgment, a day where the length of it is 50,000 years, each of them, compared to our years, our days, each one day in the Day of Judgment is worth 50,000 years, and this is going for 50,000 years. Allah knows best how many years that would be. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said by the promised day, the day when all of mankind will be rushing to the prophets, and none of the prophets will be helping, except to say they go to the next prophet. They themselves will be fearful that day, because Allah Azza wa Jal has been angry and has like none other. And Prophet Muhammad, of course, will be interceding on that day. What is the promised day? And by the witnesses, and what is witness? We know that there's a lot of witnesses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the witness days, the prophets, the messengers, and the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As you know, there are some du'as that even we call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to witness our shahada and so forth. Cursed were the companions of the trench. So these were the people, the king. There was a story of the king and the boy, and how there was a magician with the king, and the magician told that the king told the magician to find another replacement or so forth, etc. And they found this boy, and they trained this boy, and the boy would be held up. And the people would say he met a monk on his way from his house to the king's palace, and this monk told him, if you get held up from the house, tell him that you were at the king's place. The king's place held you up, and it's vice versa. And then one day there was, he kept on visiting him until one day there was some animal or some beast that was blocking the way. He had a rock. If the monk is on haqq or so forth, let this rock kill the beast and so forth, etc. You can find the story around. It's not hard to find it. And then the beast was killed. So therefore, the boy kept meeting on him, and then he started healing people. And then the king, as one of the king's subjects, were asked, who healed you? The boy healed me, and so forth. The boy's Lord. And he was like, are you talking to me? No, I'm talking about the boy's Lord. And then he tortured him and so forth. and then eventually he squealed on the boy, squealed, and the boy was grabbed. And when the boy was grabbed, he also was tortured. And then he told the monk, because the monk told him, man, you're gonna go through trials and tribulations, and don't mention if things get to things get out of hand. So eventually the boy also was like, you know what? He told he told about the monk, and the monk was grabbed and he was sawn in half. And then the boy was told to be executed. So they tried a couple of times in the sea. Although the king's subjects all drowned, and then upon the mountains shook. The king's subjects all drowned. And he said again, the only way that you will be able to take me out would be to utter the words Bismillah. We talked about Bismillah having a lot of barakah in the name of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, but he said in a condition that you bring all the people around me and so forth. And eventually they took an arrow and they killed the boy by saying the boy's name, and thus everyone around believed in the boy's name and the boy's Lord and so forth. The Lord at the time, because they used the name Lord. We know that Allah is very different, because Allah is the cherisher, maintainer, and so forth, and He is the Rabb, the master. And the lords back then, we see that we see other names in the Quran too, like Aziz. Allah is Aziz, but there are certain names and attributes that carry, that the people use. But there's other names that specifically for Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, like Ar-Rahman. You don't see people, named as Ar-Rahman. This is the most merciful. It only makes sense that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is the most merciful. That's especially merciful. But that's another thing there. But so what happened was the king ordered that everyone to be executed and to be thrown in a trench, a burning, flaming trench, and so forth. Everyone was being executed, and they were being thrown into the fire as they were being told to refute from your religion. And eventually, there was a lady and a baby, and two of the baby comforted the mother, and then they were also thrown into the trench containing the fire of fuel when they were sitting near it, and they too, what they were doing against the believers were witnessing, and they resented them not except because they believed in Allah, the exalted, in might, and praiseworthy. So they believed. The only reason the crime they had against them was because they believed in Allah Azza wa Jal, being the exalted, very powerful, and the praiseworthy, to whom belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. Allah is the owner of the heavens, the skies, the mighty skies, and everything that contains in it, whatever that is found in the skies. You look up anything above your head, you look up to the sky, that it belongs to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and He is the King, the Sovereign, and of the earth as well, everything upon the earth, and over all things. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is a witness, and Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is a sufficient witness. Indeed, those who have tortured in the believing man and the believing woman, and they have not repented, will have the punishment of the hell, and they will have the punishment of the burning fire. So their sentence will be the punishment of the burning fire. Indeed, those who believed and in righteous deeds will have gardens beneath which rivers flow. That is a great attainment. Of course, the luxurious paradise mentioned in the Quran, and it's the truth that their reward will be the paradise. Indeed, the vengeance of your Lord is severe. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala punishes like none other. He grips like none other. Indeed, it is He who originates creation and repeats it. He originates the creation from the beginning, and then He repeats it. And He is the all-forgiving, the affectionate, the honorable owner of the throne. Again, He is the owner of the mighty throne, effector of what He intends. He does whatever He wills. Has there reached you the story of the soldiers, those of Pharaoh and Thamud? But that they disbelieved but they who disbelieved are in persistent denial. While Allah encompassing from behind, Allah enumerates everything. Allah encompasses everything. He has everything numbered. But this is an honored Quran. The Quran here that's recited is honored, inscribed in tablet, and inscribed in a preserved tablet. So this is a translation here and a quick study of it. There's different ways of studying, different tafsir styles of studying. Some of the tafsirs that you can study is find the base of the surah, the core of the subject. What is the subject of the surah, and analyze that and go through the branches. You have the core. What is the core of the surah? What is the subject of the surah? And then work your way up. So this branch is talking about this. Here's the believers. Here's the witnesses. Here's the disbelievers. Here's the ones being witnessed, and so forth. Who are the witnesses? Times, the star, because time itself, we're at loss, and the angels, and so forth. So build up on these branches, build them up, and then close the surah with the closing of the surah, and just to get you an understanding what's going on. That's one way you can go about it. So this is one of the surahs that could be memorized, Surah Al-Burooj, and so forth. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.